Grip socks are great, and now they're even better with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Better fit, moisture wicking, amazing comfort, and all the extra grip you need. Choose from 10 different colors for just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
Before you buy the Nike Mercurial Superfly 8 Elite, here are some things you should know. And if you do end up deciding they're the right boots for you, you can get them below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. So, just like the Vapors, Nike have changed up the graphics for the Superfly in 2022, going from something that looks like this to this. What's the difference, you might ask? Well, you can see they moved the ACC from here to here, which is better. To make a long story short, whether your Superflies look like this, or this, or this, or this, they're going to fit, feel, and perform exactly the same way. As for the boots themselves, unnecessary but cool is what perfectly describes the Superfly 8. For an extra $25 over the low-cut Vapor 14, you get some extra material that wraps around your ankle. And depending on who you ask, the impact of this dynamic fit collar will vary tremendously. To some, it's a lifesaver that prevents repetitive ankle injuries, and to others, it's just something that looks cool. In reality, there's no real support coming from this thin material. That's effectively like wearing a second pair of socks that happens to be attached to your football boots. Nike never claims that this was an ankle support element, and if anything, the only thing they really talked about is that it's not designed to restrict the motion of your ankle, which is exactly the opposite of what ankle support actually is. Nonetheless, if having this extra material around your ankle gives you that little bit of peace of mind, then I definitely think it's a positive thing. It's also worth mentioning that the collar, because it wraps your ankle so closely, can help with preventing getting those annoying rubber pellets when playing on artificial grass inside of your football boots, which you shouldn't be doing in a pair of Superflies unless, of course, you have it in the AG stud pattern variation. Collar aside, everything else about the Superfly 8 is exactly the same as its low-cut brother in the Vapor 14. The Vaporposit upper is thin, but also really well structured, striking a nice balance between a barefoot feel on the ball, as well as that sensation of being secured and locked in inside of your football boots, giving you that signature Mercurial feel that so many people continue to come back to year after year with every new model. There is an argument to be made that the Vaporposit upper doesn't feel quite as good as the Flyknit uppers we've seen on previous generation Superflies, going all the way back to the Superfly 4. But if we go even further back in Superfly history, these are nowhere near the blister machines that were early Superfly models. So from a comfort standpoint, I think they're still pretty good. When it comes to fit, the boots do have a really tight wrap around every single part of your foot, but aren't necessarily as narrow as some past Mercurials used to be. Not saying that they're wide foot friendly, but if you do have wider feet and you like a really tight fit to your boots, perhaps you've worn Mercurials in the past, I don't see why you wouldn't fit in the latest generation with its tight fit. Not necessarily being super wide, it's still one of those boots that will fit most people. And just like past Mercurials as well, when it comes to sizing, they do run true to size, so stick with your normal size and you should be good to go. As a base, the anatomically shaped sole plate really gives this a unique feel underfoot and a super connected sensation to the boots, I would say more so than just about anything else out there. And as far as the split sole construction, if you can even still call it a split sole because of this connecting bar, it has this nice responsive sensation where it's not overly stiff. There's definitely going to be more of a springback effect from some of its competitors, mainly in the Adidas X Speedflow, but it still feels really good, and like past Mercurials, kind of puts you up on your toes, making you feel that little bit quicker. While the FG stud pattern from the Mercurial series is simply top tier, and if you're just after the most aggressive traction possible, you cannot go wrong with these. And then finally, when it comes to weight, these fall into the same category as most top-end speed boots, where they are super lightweight on feet. I think the fit and responsiveness plays a bigger part in that than the actual weight, but it also must be said that the mid-cut collar does make this a little bit heavier than the Vapor 14, simply because there's extra material. Alternatives include the Nike Mercurial Vapor 14 Elite, effectively the exact same football boot minus the collar for $25 less. If you don't need the mid-cut collar, this is definitely the Mercurial you should buy. For somebody that's really into the Superfly 8 concept but wants a football boot that doesn't fit quite as tight, the Nike Phantom GT2 DF Elite would be a great alternative. It's a Flyknit upper that's relatively thin, comparable to what you're going to find from Vaporposit. It has the same mid-cut Flyknit collar. It retails for the same $275 and features a sole plate and stud pattern that maybe isn't quite as aggressive as the Mercurials, but it comes pretty darn close. Newer is better is always the assumption that a lot of people like to make, and obviously the one that big brands want you to believe, but in the case of the previous generation Superfly 7, there's an argument to be made that this is every bit as good as the current model, if not that a little bit better. So if you currently have the Superfly 7 and they still have some life in them, I wouldn't say there's much of a reason to upgrade, or if you just prefer the feel of a slightly softer upper, if you can find an older Superfly 7 available still, it's a really solid football boot. And if you're not completely stuck on the whole mid-cut collar thing, the Adidas X Speedflow Point 1 at $250 is a phenomenal pair of speed boots. It also even incorporates some carbon fiber in the sole plate by way of this Carbitex insert, an element that used to be a signature feature of the Mercurial Superfly, but obviously isn't anymore. This, from a technology and performance standpoint, is top tier. And if you were ever looking for an excuse to switch from swooshes to stripes, checks to stripes is what I meant to say, this is the time to do it.